goodness.
The one of one is missing.
I knew something was up.
Pop that's almost twice as much going for the same price.
I just freaking love that rated rookie logo.
Doing more buying.
Which one of these 5 quarterbacks has the worst set of pass catchers to throw the football to?
Guess how much I sniped this for an auction?
Number to 5, you dirty animal.
I'm telling you, these Optic on-card autos are money.
Alrighty, the NoOffSeason.com network football card quest is back. And Andy, my question for you is, do you have Josh Allen cards in your collection? A single one?
No, I wish I did, man. Not anything of meaningful value. If I did, it would just be a common base card. I used to. I had some base Donruss cards, but I mean, I had to sell them, man. I sold them for a ton of profit because I invested early and picked up a few of his cards to get some exposure. Although I got to be honest, Carter, I was not a Josh Allen believer from his second year to his third year because of all the balls he used to airmail. I didn't think he was going to take that leap. And so I was not prioritizing my investments in him whatever I should have been. I had a couple, wish I had more.
Man, I have a hard time believing he's not going to be the MVP this year. I understand Lamar Jackson's right there, and a lot of things can change here in the next couple of weeks. But, you know, if you're a Josh Allen holder, do you want to wait and take that chance if he never actually gets to a Super Bowl? Because it is unreal, like, how alien he's played these last 2 weeks. I mean, there's just not many 2-week regular season QB runs you can point to that have been quite like this one versus 2 good teams in back-to-back road games. Now, both these defenses aren't the absolute amazing, but most amazing things in the world. But, man, he's ridiculous, absolutely positively ridiculous. And he's definitely the best quarterback alive right now that has not been to a Super Bowl, been first-team All-Pro, or won an MVP. So, you know, it goes back, as you show on the screen here, that famous 2018 rookie class.
Oh, man. And I love the 2018 Optic and Donruss. Interesting with the Optic, the helmet's on, and the base Donruss, they took the helmet off. But you look at the PSA 10 trends for both Josh Allen and Lamar, which you kind of hinted at it, but Lamar Jackson is having a better season than his 2 MVP campaigns prior. But yet Josh Allen's also doing what he's doing, which is absolutely insane for both these guys. This 2018 quarterback class is having a phenomenal year here with Baker and Sam Darnold in the mix as well. But Josh Allen's PSA 10 base Donruss here, a change of 27% over the past 6 months. And that's tough to do when you have a guy that has as much hype as Josh Allen has coming into the season. But you're seeing transactions now almost $200 for his base Donruss PSA 10, which you can find like back in October, there was auctions ending at 118, 105, you know, kind of standard auctions there. And we're seeing this big increase as we get closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, and I agree with Jerry. I would like to think Josh Allen is going to win an MVP at some point. There's just not many people I've ever seen play the quarterback position better than him. I'm not saying he's ever going to catch Mahomes. I'm not saying he's ever even going to catch maybe Lamar Jackson in personal accolades. And my guy Joe Burrow's having the best season of his life, but just on a losing team. It is fascinating to say the least. Now, Andy, we talk a lot about the backup quarterback thing, and I gave a play of the week months ago on here, our guy Carson Wentz. So we have an opportunity here where Mahomes, who is the gold standard in football cards, modern football cards, he might be rested. So for those that don't know the situation, Patrick Mahomes has his ankle rolled up on at the end of the Browns game. Then they have to play on Saturday, and then on the following Wednesday on Christmas Day. So the likelihood that they're willing to risk Patrick Mahomes on a Saturday game when they're 13-1, and the NFL is going to wink, wink, nod, nod. They want to make sure Mahomes is playing on that Christmas game. We don't know for certain if Carson Wentz is going to play or not. And I could definitely see Mahomes toughing it out because he's just that dude. But this was an opportunity weeks ago to buy Carson Wentz in probably the best backup quarterback opportunity you could find.
Now, he is selling Carter right now, but a lot of his prices are still very low. Like, for example, I was just look at this, select silver here, PSA 9 for $10. I'll talk about this rookie ticket auto in a second, but like his optic hollow purple raw here for $8, buy it now, sold. PSA 10 based honors for $12. So his cards are absolutely selling here, still pretty cheap.
Yes.
Considering, the fact he's a quarterback. If he does get a start and he does play well, I could see the price go up a little bit more, especially with how low that they've been at. So he is absolutely selling. You could probably, depending on the card you have, take some profit right now, but you could roll the dice. My question to you, Carter, do you really think they're going to sit Patrick Mahomes? I mean, we've kind of seen this before where he rolls up on his ankle and yet he's back the next week with some extra wrap on it and he's doing his thing and he's back out there.
I think it's just worth the risk of having Carson Wentz just in the arsenal. I mean, I would if I was Andy Reid, I would rest him. I would. But then again, Mahomes is an alien. So I would like to think that Mahomes is going to tough it out and actually play because that's just who he is. The thing that's really good about the Carson Wentz thing, let's just say he plays good in this one game. Well, Mahomes is going to be back for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Also know, and this is key when you're doing the backup quarterback thing, can Carson Wentz be a Sam Darnold? And what do I mean by that? Well, Carson Wentz isn't, the absolute oldest person on the planet. He probably still has some football left in him. If he plays well, there could be a quarterback-hungry team in a weak NFL draft class that wants to roll the dice and give Carson Wentz another opportunity, right? Like, say, like the Jets are in the middle of, well, is Aaron Rodgers going to come back? If he doesn't, let's go out there and get a very strong backup quarterback. Carson Wentz very well could be that guy going on a really solid Jets team. So this is a guy that, I really like a lot. And we know his injuries back then were very gnarly. And when he was playing at his peak, this is what makes him different than Sam Darnold, is he was in the odds-on favorite to win the NFL MVP the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So it's interesting. I'm talking myself more into Wentz showing just some promise, even if it's just one series, and then him getting a $10-15 million a year deal to go be a starter somewhere else or try to be a starter somewhere else.
It makes a lot of sense to have at least a Prism Silver PSA 10, which all the rookies in football were silvers in 2016 for $30. I mean, you go back and I was looking at some of the data on Slabhawk, and even before the season started, there was a little spike here where people were buying for $40 buy it now, $65 auction on August 20th. So, I mean, even buying it at $30 just leaves you with so much upside. I mean, even if you were to compare it to a guy that's at, like right now, Dak Prescott's at a trend of $85 on his Prism Silver PSA 10 from 2016. So, yeah, I look at the Carson Wentz play right now as still very advantageous because you have a lot of outs. You have the outs here this week, the next week. And then you also have outs in the future, like you're talking about a journeyman starting opportunity somewhere else in the NFL.
Yeah. So once again, 31, I mean, not a little long in the tooth, but, just not really played a lot of football recently. And obviously at his peak, it was very, very, very good. I mean, a lot of people were looking at him like a Burrow when he was absolutely balling out of control. Andy, as far as football cards are concerned, we want to get a little early into hobby tip of the week. Right before we jumped on here, I was like, what? I've had a tough week. I'm going to do a personal rip of Bowman Chrome, and my mega box was duds, nothing but duds. And I always tell everyone on here, don't buy sealed wax. But I'm a big Bowman Chrome and College Uni guy. Andy, don't do it. I'm just warning everybody.
Yeah, and I've always had that kind of mindset too, unless I'm going to give it away or just rip some product for fun. With my kids love ripping product, and there's a lot of fun and excitement to it. But I always remind them, set your expectations super low, just because it can be so hit or miss. And now though, Carter, and this is something I want to talk about. Recently read an article where there are companies that are CT scanning boxes to see what the hits are inside of it. And this is a very controversial topic because there is one company that is very open about what they're doing, and in fact, letting The Athletic come in and take pictures and write an entire article and do a case study on this. And you can see a box here, a 2023 Optic Mega Box that they CT scanned with their technology here. And I'll show you guys the images they were able to get from it. And they charge people. Like, this is a legitimate company with a website that charges people for this box specifically. They charge $65 to scan, and you basically get almost like an X-ray type of image from it. Like this, I'll have to go scroll down here. But Carter, I mean, right off the bat, that is very controversial because there's a lot of ethics that come into question when we start talking about scanning boxes, and if they should even be allowed to do this, and how this impacts the hobby, man.
Yeah, it's big. It's absolutely big, man. Because, eventually this technology will be able to get squeezed down to you're just able to do it on your phone, or you can just find different ways to get out of ripping wax altogether. Man, I kind of want to send all my boxes to these people.
Well, you have 2020 Prism. So that's like a prime example of something that makes a lot of sense. Like, if you knew there was a Joe Burrow Prism Silver Auto in there, you would rip that thing open in a heartbeat.
Yeah, let's do it. And I can't say this enough, right? I don't know if I'm ever ripping a box again. I was so deflated, and I talk about it all the time on here. I don't remember the last time, because I remember buying the Prism 2020 mega boxes for $45 out the door, and then I bought this Bowman Chrome box, a product obviously not in as high regard. I love Topps, Bowman U, whatever. $68 is what I spent on this box. $68 US for bricks. I might have gotten $5 out of the box. So, and I'm just not doing it. And look at that, man, that's crazy.
Yeah. So where it makes a lot of sense for these people is when they're buying high-end products. Like if you're buying a sealed pack or box of 2000 Bowman Chrome, for instance, looking for a Tom Brady iconic rookie card, or if you're buying let's say a $10,000 box of Flawless that has only one pack of 5 cards in it, you can get a really good idea on some of these, like what the card is. Or there's even products where that only come with like 1 or 2 cards, and so people are using this technology to scan those high-end boxes to determine whether or not they should rip them open or sealed. And then it's like those people probably should be required to have some type of disclaimer when they go to then resell the box that this has been scanned. Like I think it's highly I mean, honestly, I don't hate on these people for using their technology to do this, because they're open about it. And they're definitely telling people, like, this is what we're doing. They're not trying to do it secretively and hide about it. But I do think it is unethical, because, that's the whole mystery around sealed product. It takes that away,
Right. One other thing to note is, I'm reading that they're thinking about changing up the postal service, privatizing the USPS. And I live in a rural area I need USPS. I send so many letters. I never thought I would get to this point, but keep that in mind as football card buyers, sellers, and all of that. Because I don't know about you, Andy. I freaking love the Postal Service.
Oh yeah, they're a critical part of our selling and buying process with sports cards. And yeah, we gotta honestly, some postal workers deserve a Christmas gift. There's some
Yes,
out there. There's a few bad apples that give the postal service a bad name, and it seems like there's certain zip codes areas where they really struggle. That I've noticed, especially like with eBay envelopes and stuff. But other ones, I mean, they've been phenomenal. So.
crazy. Um, I want to talk about the college uni cards as we get ready for the draft, and I just keep going back to, man, that $65 could have got me a nasty Garrett Nussmeier auto instead of just doing the mystery box. It's a Family Guy meme. But this is still, to me, a good time to go get some draft eligible guys, right? I think Cam Ward is a pretty solid bet to be a first round draft quarterback. Miami logo. I think there is a strong possibility he beats out Shedeur Sanders, especially considering, there's going to be baggage with Shedeur in his draft process. There could be a high likelihood that Cam Ward goes number 1 overall. I could see the New York Giants losing out, number 1 overall pick. And I could see that being the quarterback out of Miami. And, he just doesn't have the same hype as obviously Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams going into last year. So I do think there are some opportunities to go buy some of these quarterbacks for this next draft cycle.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Look at some of the hype. Not just quarterbacks, but I was kind of talking about this last week. Which, by the way, we really missed you last week, Carter. But we appreciate your video submission. That was a lot of fun. But I was talking about these skill position players that are pretty cheap right now that we saw last year, like guys that could have fallen to potentially round 2, 3. But guys that you knew were going to be drafted in the first round, i.e., your Brian Thomas Juniors, your Ladd McConkeys, that kind of thing, and where we could have gone and bought those guys. Even we went back and remember we looked at Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, there's so many guys that have been drafted in the first round that this time before the draft were super cheap. Super cheap, and then once the draft came and went, their prices just went up heading into the season because the supply just doesn't catch up quick enough, and the draft night instance take a couple months to come out, and those just don't really shake a stick at all the college uniform autos and nice cards here from Bowman Chrome University with the little first logo and stuff that come out that are out already.
Yeah, another thing, if you do go buy this product, and if you are buying it raw, there it might just been the box that I had. There were a lot of print lines, so be on the lookout for that. Especially if you're buying Malachi Fields right here. Okay, so he just entered the transfer portal not too long ago, and you're buying an out of 10 raw card at a brutal angle here. I'm just saying, be very, very, very careful. Ask for multiple photos because I saw a lot of print lines on my cards.
Yeah, I love this auto here with Malachi Fields at Fields8. Is that his Twitter handle? I'm guessing.
Yeah, I guess Twitter or IG. I like it.
How long before he stops putting that on all of his autos? Like how long can he keep that up?
I mean, maybe not. I mean, he's an okay player. I mean, I don't think he's anything like insane, but yeah, I would think just for potentially this set of sticker autos. The thing that really bummed me out, no LSU cards. I didn't rip a single, and there's like a gazillion players on the LSU checklist. But of course, the one box I rip, I get a lot of Auburn, a lot of Alabama, a lot of teams, I could care less about, but it is what it is. Let's go to a few of your comments, questions. Jerry says, I would sell all of your of his Brock Purdy cards. I couldn't disagree more there, Andy. Especially all.
Jerry, I'm trying to catch up to the comment, but Jerry said he would. Oh, okay, I see that, Jerry. I
Jerry.
would sell all of Purdy. Yeah, I think at this point I think you're in a holding pattern with Purdy.
Right.
I'm in the holding pattern of Purdy, especially if you have more high end. Well, any tier of Purdy rookie cards right now, I think you absolutely have a hold. There's a lot of future outs for Purdy, and the more that you've invested in him, I think the more incentivized you are to hold right now because his chart is down. He's going to be back in September with a lot of hype.
Jerry, thank you for the super chat.
I do appreciate that, Jerry.
Yeah, it goes all to Mr. Andy over there. Jonathan says, "Is Noah Fifita worth holding?" Yes. I could see him going to the right system. I don't think it's bad to hold him at all. Don says, time to get in on Michael Penix now, Andy. It's because Kirk, it's done with Kirk. It's done.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like, with Rodgers, you have like the Hall of Fame clout, and it's like you get a little glimpse of him this past week, and you're wondering, oh, okay, there's the Rodgers, but it's a little late at this point. But I think Kirk, he doesn't have that Hall of Fame clout, so he really is done. Like I don't think there's really any coming back from this. And I would get in on Michael Penix. You just go and look at 2024 Mosaic price tiers from Jaden Daniels, and then you go to Caleb, and then you go to Drake, and then you look at, well, Bo Nix is up there between Caleb and Jaden, and then you go down to like a Michael Penix, and yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You want to flip Michael Penix. To me is a flip guy. I don't see Michael Penix being real successful in the NFL.
Ooh.
Just based on, I mean, a lot of it was based on your film studies, Carter. Kind of where his struggles were, and the way he face planted in championship games. So, I don't think he's going to be a really successful quarterback in the NFL, but I could be wrong.
One thing that is very fascinating, it's going to be a interesting experiment. So, Jaden, Malik, and BTJ are all studs. Jamar, Justin, and Burrow are all superstars as well. It is interesting that all the Washington rookies have face planted, right? Jalen McMillan has scored a few touchdowns, but Andy, you watch every Buccaneers rep, they're wide open touchdowns, right? It's not like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like wide open screens. It's not anything like spectacular. Jalen Polk is like just a total non-factor, really bad pick. And then Rome Odunze's just not been good. We can say all we want about the offense and all of that. I don't know if you watched that game last night, Andy. He had a bad drop TD for the Bears. So maybe Michael Penix was lifting all of these guys in college, which I don't know if I fully believe that or not. But, that has given me more hope for the Penix. But he was my lowest graded quarterback of all the guys. I didn't hate him. I graded him around like a second or third round pick. But I'm interested. I at this point, Kirk Cousins, Andy, this was a really good stat from Bill Barnwell. They ran the football on first down versus the Raiders 23 out of 24 times. So what does that tell you? That they don't trust him.
Yeah.
You can be the stalest play caller. You're never calling runs on 23 first downs, right? So it's one of those things where maybe we get the Penix here.
Yeah, and like I said, Carter, he is really cheap right now. Like you look at this red NFL debut Mosaic for $22 that sold today. His cards are starting to move. They're moving because he is a rookie as well. And obviously there's all the speculation. But Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these are pretty safe prices for long-term flipping ability. You do have to worry that these are new products, so over time they're going to become diluted and go down in price. But when you're getting it at $5 to $10, 15, $20 for the color parallels, maybe something serial numbered, you're in a good spot with the quarterback position, and it may, hey, I would be very interested to see if your theory is correct. Give them some time with the weapons that they do have on the field, because they've got good weapons in Atlanta.
Let's freaking go. Um, Jonathan, I would the Josh Allen you showed me, I would seriously consider just listing it high and seeing what you can get for it, because he is so freaking hot right now. But I can also understand holding him. The one thing I could say with near certainty now that he will make the Hall of Fame. It's just hard for me to see him pile up all these elite seasons and him not actually get there. I also think he has a lot of good football ahead of him. So I don't think he's falling off like any time soon. So, I'm very bullish on Josh Allen, as many of you could see.
Yeah, look at his chart, Carter. This is what's interesting. If you open it up to 2 years, slabhawk.com, up to 2 years of data here, and we go back, playoff time period of the end of the 2022 season, that base Donruss PSA 10 was up to almost $300. $300. And so right now, even though we are up big time from just a month to 2 months ago, we're still only at 175. We're just under 200 for his base Donruss PSA 10. And if I were a betting man, I would go look at his optic, and I would bet you we're going to see a similar type of trend here. Yeah, I mean, look, that card, playoff time period, end of 2022 season, 300 or no, 580, $600 in auction, $600 buy it now, January 15th, 2023. And now we're at a $350 buy it now. So still upside in Josh Allen compared to his career high. And that was the end of the 2022 season. So if you really wanted the peak of the modern sports card bubble or boom, that was at the end of the 2021 season in January of 2022. So, I think we do have post-boom price reflection there at the end of the 2022 season and the beginning of 2023 compared to now. So I do think that, you have a more upside to squeeze out of Josh Allen, especially if you were to compare him to Patrick Mahomes cards, which is not that far off, because the leap from 2017 print runs and print varieties to 2018 is very small. It's not that big at all.
Right.
They didn't really crank up that production until 2020. So 2017, 2018 differences are very small.
Let's see here. I want to get to a few more comments because let's go to Thomas. He wants to talk Jahmyr Gibbs taking on a bigger role now. Yeah, I mean, it could get nasty with the old Gibbs, man.
Yeah, and Gibbs, I mean, it's crazy, but Gibbs is kind of like, he's with the print variety that Gibbs has, and he still is able to keep up with Saquon Barkley prices from 2018. That is impressive. That is really impressive, really amazing to see. But now with David Montgomery out, Gibbs' role is going to increase. This whole Lions situation is very interesting, because you have premiums right now. You could sell Jared Goff for a lot of profit. Anybody that has followed the channel has bought into Jared Goff this past offseason, earlier this season. You all have profit in Jared Goff right now. As we looked, his 2016 Prism PSA 10 was up to a current trend of $330, so up 43% over the past 6 months. But you have to ask yourself, how deep can the Lions go here? Virtually every starting player on their defense is injured. David Montgomery is now injured. Carter, what do you feel? So I know you like to go off feels, brother. What's your feels on the Lions making a deep playoff run now with all these injuries?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I still believe in the fighting Dan Campbells. I still believe in the fighting Tim freaking Patricks. I've always been a big Tim Patrick guy. But yeah, the injuries have caught up to him. And right now, I think if you're to Well, let me ask you this. With the way the Packers played this past week, which NFC North team do you think will advance the furthest in the playoff? The Lions, the Vikings, or the Pack?
I mean, honestly, I think it might be the Vikings.
Oh, what?
Yeah, man, this Vikings team is really good. This defense is really good, and they've got such a solid system on offense. I mean, this is the longest I've ever seen Sam Darnold sustain a largely successful, you know, like just stint in the NFL. You know, he's had a few good games here and there in his past, but this year has been really consistent for him. And I mean, at this point, 15 weeks in, I was no longer a small sample size or an anomaly. I think we're seeing something here that's going to kind of trend into the playoffs here. So I do think it's going to be close. Obviously, these games, a lot of them could come down to a bounced field goal. But yeah, I think the Vikings, man, are in a really good spot.
Family Burliner agrees with you. Hector's a Lions guy. He said with the risky fourth down decision and play calling, he doesn't see them winning at all.
But watch out for my Buccaneers.
Dude, they're hot. I was gonna get to that. Your boy Mike Evans going ham.
Woo.
Baker Mayfield going ham.
Yeah, man, and Bucky Irving. I'm so glad I bought those Panini instant autos that I could get of him because he is on fire. And yeah, we got a lot of holes on defense, but we're gonna blitz all the time, and we're gonna put up a lot of points. So we're starting to look like, I've been really impressed with Liam Cohen, our offensive coordinator, and that's what Todd Bowles needs to have a successful team. And right now, Baker's just playing. He's like in the golden ages of his career, man. He's playing so good. So yeah, I think watch out for the Bucks, man. They could be a sneaky team that some teams, if they get out to an early lead, you just can't catch back up. Kind of like what happened to the Chargers past week. We get that run game going. Watch out, man. They're going to run up the scoreboard and could eliminate a couple teams like the Lions or somebody. So,
all right. So it is actually I'll save my play of the week, but you kind of sort of gave it away. It wasn't Baker Mayfield, so we'll save it towards the end. But you're right, Tim. Nobody wants to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now. Andy, it is a holiday season time. I wanted to ask you. I wrote this down over here somewhere. Ask Andy if this is a good buy opportunity because there's a lot of people just focusing in on getting the Christmas presents or not necessarily looking at football cards. And I always target the players on teams not going into the playoffs. That's where I like to go. So there are some interesting people like a Trevor Lawrence, if you will, that you might be able to buy a dip.
Well, yeah, you can buy a big dip on Trevor Lawrence. He's got a lot of cards. And remember, I would target, if you can, Trevor Lawrence 21 PSA 10 cards for if you're going to go in like that Prism Silver. I wouldn't speculate unless you're evaluating it at a show where you can get really good eyes on it, because it's just such a low raw to PSA 10 conversion rate. I wouldn't even really buy the raw rookie ticket autos, the base contenders, because there's a lot of issues with those as well from 2021 with trimming and dinged up edges and corners and stuff. So I really would prefer that you get a rookie auto, Trevor Lawrence. But if it's going to be from one of those paper sets, get it graded. Otherwise, get something like a Prism Silver and Optic Hollow PSA 10. Just don't even worry about the raw card.
And here's why I say it, and this is why it's going to be my play of the week. It's not Trevor, but it's just number one overall picks. All right. It's not always pretty out the gate. It's not. And it's just top picks in general. But how many number one overall picks have just busted that are just downright atrocious quarterbacks? it just doesn't really happen. And a lot of the number one overall picks, Andy, are guys that are coming out after year 3. And what we have learned about quarterbacks, not only at the collegiate level, but the professional level, is age matters, experience matters. So, yeah, I wasn't the biggest Trevor Lawrence guy coming out. Took some heat for it on here. That's how long we've been doing this show. And, over time, I was like, okay, I kind of believe in it, kind of don't. But he's still only 25. He is still only 25 years of age. At some point, he is going to play good football. At some point. It's just what recent history has told us. So, yeah, obviously it's difficult with the, supply and all of that. But it is something that I'll be monitoring as we move forward. Same thing for Bryce Young. It's something to help me out getting some Bryce Young product over here. So, I stick with the number one overall picks. And at some point, I just hope that they turn out playing well like Baker Mayfield's doing right now.
Hey, man, you were right on Bryce Young in terms of these number one overall picks. Your theory on Bryce Young looks like he's not going to be too bad.
Yeah.
Now people are optimistic about the future for him. I don't think if you take this same thought process here to Trevor Lawrence, you're able to buy into a career low dip on Trevor Lawrence. You just had to wait 3 years, but here it is, man. Here it is. Now's the time to strike. I mean, look, Optic out of 150 with the on-card rookie auto, rated rookie logo, PSA 9, $246. You're getting half the bid, so that's half the competition right now. You're able to get some nice cards. This Donruss, the rookie auto out of 299, PSA 10 for $150. There's a lot of rookie autos right now. Silver Prism rookie auto, $202. I mean, these cards are down probably 300% from peak values. It's a really good time to buy in Trevor Lawrence. It doesn't like if you tell your friends, "Oh, I'm buying Trevor. I just spent $200 on a Trevor Lawrence Silver Prism rookie card." They're going to look at you like you're crazy. But you have to explain to them the stash. You have to explain to them why it makes sense to buy early and stash it for the future, because that's when you'll realize the most profit, Those future outs.
Yeah. And look, same thing is true for Caleb Williams. He looked like absolute, what, yesterday. But watch the actual game. The Rome Odunze drop made it look a lot worse. Keenan obviously is not in his prime. And I'll say this, and it's just like I don't know if I'm getting old or whatever, but I just get so sick and tired of wide receivers, just in general. Like, you have AJ Brown angry or whatever that was last week on a winning team. Diontae Johnson is finally on a winning team for the first time in his career. It's all about him, all about Diontae Johnson. And I swear to you, Andy, one of your favorite players is going to I'm getting ready to stick a knife right through your heart here. DJ Moore doesn't seem like he cares. It just doesn't seem like he cares.
Yeah.
At all. So
I have seen that as well. It seems disinterested.
Right. So I say that Caleb Williams, how is he supposed to succeed with that, with the coaching being as bad as it is in what has been by far the best division in football this season? So, it's been disappointing for Caleb. It's been disappointing, obviously, for a lot of these number one overall quarterbacks. So, I'm not saying that every single number one quarterback is going to fail and then eventually turn into something solid. It's just, even though everyone pointed at this Bears situation for Caleb to be pretty good on paper, it really wasn't. It's rancid. And I think Caleb could have a brand new regime pretty soon. Actually, he will. But I mean, not just with coaching, I'm talking about front office as well.
Oh, yeah. They need it, man. It starts at the top. They have to have somebody come in and change the culture. And that's going to start at the top. They need a new GM. They need a new head coach. They need new offensive coordinator, all down the line, man. They have to go, they got to bring somebody in that at the top that can change the culture there in Chicago. And I think that would benefit them hugely.
Let's go to Chris. He says, I remember flipping base college autos of Trevor for more than $200. Yeah, his college market got crazy. I actually did the same thing when I was ripping a bunch of college product, like just overprinted Raider rookie optic hollows out of Chronicles, going for $100. So it's insane. 80 to $100. It's wild. But that's the downside in particular with Trevor Lawrence. There's just so much stuff out there. I mean, it is freaking ridiculous. And that was the first year. I mean, obviously, it was kind of sort of 2020, but it really was 2021 where the print run was just insane. Absolutely insane.
You had some downtown PSA 10s recently for Trevor Lawrence, closed for 810, 881. You had to buy it now for 1,067 yesterday, believe it or not. Somebody realizing the data. I mean, just go back to preseason last year, $3,000 easy on this card. You know, this is one of those cards you take to the National. If the player's hyped, people are trying to get it from you for a couple grand, especially in PSA 10 condition. And for a quarterback, Trevor's caliber, just draft pedigree alone, you know, heading into last season, this is a $3,000 card. And just look, I mean, that's what I say, we're at career all-time lows for Trevor Lawrence. If you take this as an indication, because this is such a popular and widely accepted, demanded card in the hobby, I mean, it's down 300% easy, over 300%, almost 400%.
That just shakes me to my core. It really, really, really does. And I'll also tell you this, as far as Trevor is concerned, his tape is bad. They say the tape has been really, really, really bad this year. But new regime, Brian Thomas Jr. looks to be freaking amazing. Now, before we get to your play of the week, Andy, shout out CGC. Shout out Paul Hickey and the NoOffSeason.com network. Are you done with Will Levis? Are you done with Anthony Richardson?
Yeah, I got to be done with Will Levis. Anthony Richardson is actually an interesting buying opportunity as well. Not as bullish. I honestly would be more bullish on Trevor Lawrence than Anthony Richardson right now. But Anthony Richardson is an interesting opportunity because he's another guy that could. But at the same time, like I think about Anthony Richardson, as much as he is likely to break out in the future, I think he's also likely to end up like a Mitchell Trubisky. I hate to say it, man, but and not for the same reasons that Mitch. So don't come after me with your pitchforks, Brad. All right,
Brad.
But I think that there's a good chance that Anthony Richardson could end up, you know, a backup in the future. So I kind of am out on both of those guys just because we have free agency coming up, and there's a couple guys that are going to have a ton of speculation on them. There's a few guys in their contract year right now. I think their team isn't going to be able to afford to bring them back. And if we look at the prioritization in the free agent marketplace, wide receivers dominate that. So I'm really bullish on wide receivers right now over these quarterbacks.
Over the QBs.
Yeah, because I can more accurately predict a future like breakout window for wide receiver in a lot of cases than I can with quarterbacks. It's just very volatile. Maybe the upside's a little bit bigger, but you know, okay, instead of the card going up 300-400%, maybe it just goes up 200%. And for a wide receiver, and you still make a nice profit. And there's so many future outs for wide receivers. Just it's an easier time predicting future success for a wide receiver than it is for a quarterback.
Yeah, quarterbacks always have more upside, but the truth is, you know, a wide receiver, if they go on a contender or just in a good situation, yeah, you better watch out. I'm just over it. Over how some of the receivers act when you're on a winning team. You're on a winning team. You're still getting paid. Yeah, are there some incentives? Yeah, but is it that important for you to get the ball? Just for you? In an operation where there's millions of fans, thousands of people in the stadium, hundreds of people at the organization that are putting in work to just find a way to win games, but you want to throw a pity party because you're not getting the ball? And give me a break. Give me a break. But Andy, it's now time for your play of the week. My play of the week, if you're just joining us, is number one overall quarterbacks. Right? Just because they suck early or they're not that great early, doesn't mean that they don't turn out to be something down the road. Imagine if you're buying those Bryce Young Prism Silvers for $5 out the door. You would feel a lot better about yourself right now. All right, Andy, play of the week. Let's go.
Yeah, so I think right now is, like I said, a great time to start planning for the upcoming free agency cycle. So what I like to do is come over here to sporttrack.com. Sporttrack, it'll show you all the contracts of all the players. You can see here's a spreadsheet. You can narrow this down: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and sort by when their contract's going to end. So you can see who's going to be a free agency this upcoming off season, who's going to be, and then you can like dig into how much their last contract was, and you kind of understand how they played. And if you look at the cap space and the other players on the teams that they're currently on, you can kind of start to get an idea if these teams are going to be able to afford to bring them back or if they're going to net a pretty penny on the open market. So right now, honestly, one of my favorite guys to buy is Chris Godwin on the Tampa Bay Bucks because he's in a contract year. The Bucks have a fairly limited cap space. Like if you look at his average salary of $20 million and you look at how well he's played, he's still pretty young. I think the last time I checked, Chris Godwin's like only 28 years old. He's got the iconic 2017 rookie cards. I'm not sure the Bucks are going to be able to bring him back with how much he can get in the open market. And he's going to be a free agent after the season. And, if we can bring him back, that's great, because I got personal collection value in there for me. If we can't bring him back, I think there's a good possibility he goes to a contender. He goes to a really good team. And I know that the Patriots are like, they say they're all in on T. Higgins, but what if they can't get T. Higgins? But what if they get Chris Godwin? And then Drake May takes a step forward. And all of a sudden, Chris Godwin is now the alpha because he's kind of in the shadow of Mike Evans currently on the Bucks. But yet Chris Godwin fits the mold of the new age of wide receiver in the league really well. And he's been a phenomenal player. I think he's a guy that could really spike big time this upcoming offseason. And right now, his cards are very cheap because of the injury, because of playing for the Bucks and being shadowed by Mike Evans and stuff. So I love targeting Chris Godwin right now.
There is one more, Andy, and by the way, you've always been singing the praises of Chris Godwin, and you'll never forgive me in our dynasty league going Christian Watson over Chris Godwin.
No, that's unforgivable.
I know, but we still end up winning a league.
Yeah, we did. We did.
But I will tell you, okay, one guy that is flying way under the radar because his offense absolutely sucks. But a guy that has shown juice, and, we're not the biggest running back people on here, has been Kendre Miller. He has shown some juice. Okay. AK-41 obviously will have that running back room in a stranglehold again next year. But go watch his runs. There's juice there. Okay. I looked at his autos this morning. It could be anywhere $5 out the door for rated rookie autos and all that. I just wanted to point that out, what I've seen. I like sharing what I've seen. So if you want to see more Kendre, you can go to Power Hour NFL, did a few film studies on him. Andy, what did you think of Spencer Rattler over this past weekend? I don't think it's much of anything, but there's some people buzzing.
Yeah, it was definitely a change from the last starting opportunity he got. So I think, I definitely saw some people buzzing about it and also saw an increase in his sold activity. I I don't think it's anything too exciting, like you said, but I think it definitely is a little bit better sign of optimism than his last start.
All right, so few things here from Ian Rappaport. Patrick Mahomes' high ankle should do some work today. We'll see how it goes. Also, Andy Reid confirms that Hollywood Brown might have a chance to play this weekend.
He's in a buying window, being a 2019 rookie with 2019 cards that have a nice scarcity around them. Hollywood Brown is a nice little buying opportunity that could come up with a huge game in the playoffs for the Chiefs. So I would I'd absolutely be targeting some of his auctions right now. At the very least, doing a deep dive on his available auctions that are ending right now, this tomorrow, this weekend, that kind of thing.
I appreciate Tim. I don't know if I showed this one already. PSA 10, Jaden Daniels, rookie. Appreciate
Nice.
that, Tim. Let's go, bro. Jaden to the freaking moon. I will say those missed Terry McLaurin touchdowns cost me like the number one stack that I have. I was way overexposed to Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin. So if that connects, or if a few more of these just connect throughout the season, your boy is. I mean, Andy, I know you watch football really closely. They've missed on, I would guess, minimum 7 or 8 kind of walk-in 60, 70-yard bomb TDs. And I was like, God, dog. And they've both been really good. I'm not saying they haven't been good, but to win in fantasy, you have to go nuclear. And I just wanted to drink bleach after that Saints game.
Yeah, but in terms of like just a comeback player or like comeback production, we're finally starting to see what the possible ceiling of Terry McLaurin is.
Insane.
Man, when this deep ball gets dialed in with him, when Jaden gets dialed in with him, it is unreal. I mean, we could be seeing, Jamar. I don't know what his air yards are. I'm really curious. I'm gonna have to go look now. This is driving me crazy, but his air yards have to be insane.
All right, Andy, I'll let you take a few more here. T. Higgins with the franchise tag, says Hector. But other than that, I'm good to go. But do you want to take any more before we skedaddle?
Yeah, I think it's a good selling opportunity here in the playoffs for Terry McLaurin. You could hold him because he's still only 29. Like, he's got a couple good years in him, but 29 at the same time for wide receivers up there. Yes, according to Player Profilers, air yards are at 1,100. So we've got a couple games left, but this isn't counting this past week, which he probably had like 500 air yards. So I mean, it's I think he could finish the season close to like 2,000 air yards, and he's been over 1,000-yard producer each of the past 4 years. But he could have been a 1,500-yard producer this year. So but we're starting to like get that ceiling. We see him get open all the time. He's just always open, man, always open. So
yeah, and one thing I do, and I wrote this down, that I wanted to bring up. Understand that flex scheduling is happening. I know some of you like to in your auctions during games, and you like to schedule out your auctions. There was a bunch of schedules that got moved around. Okay, and then one final thing, Andy. College football playoffs are happening. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on that over the weekend. So we hope you enjoy that. But ladies and Gentiles, that's it for us. We'll see you.
Peace.
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels